My wife was duped by her lover. I let her handle the debt. This is my attempt to move on from everything. I'm 33, but my ex-wife, who is 3 years younger, still gets involved in my life whenever she can. Call her Darcy. This is my final statement because I'm done. Once this is online, I'll request her restraining order from the court. I just need to move on and stop her from pursuing me and resurfacing anytime she wants. Darcy and I met while working remotely on a branding assignment a few years ago, since it was my job to develop profiles. For everyone, I DM'd her the finished design. First, she was courteous, enjoyed it, and offered me fantastic feedback on my work. Naturally, we talked more. One day, she unexpectedly calls to say she must meet up because she's coming to my city for work. I was curious but didn't expect much because I was single. She looked attractive in her images, so I wanted to meet her in person. A relationship wouldn't have bothered me, even if I wasn't looking for one. She chose a restaurant, and her conversations with Darcy were as pleasant as their direct messages. We started dating soon after. It just happened. She became my girlfriend one of those nice evenings in town. Our formalization began when she agreed. After over a year together, we decided to marry. I should also say that her mother and sisters despised me. They showed me I was too poor for their daughter, yet they married me anyhow. Even though their socioeconomic level was slightly greater than mine, these people thought they were better than me. Financially, things were good. Darcy had moved to my city permanently, and I had a better paying design position. Since we worked in the same field, we collaborated on projects whenever possible. Even though it took a while, having a child was the highlight of our marriage. Darcy miscarried after almost 5 months of good relationship with the baby. As I work remotely, I was home when everything happened. Pain made her scream as she prepared for work. I spotted blood while comforting her. She started crying immediately, so we probably spotted it together. I panicked and called 911. The hospital doctors told us she miscarried. They suspected she overworked. We both struggled and felt depressed. Even though we never had additional children, I promised her we would, and she seemed to return to her usual self. After that, I did my best to help her. I bought her a new car and moved us into a bigger apartment. To help her with her work, I paid for and designed a professional website for her. I paid for her services to ease her burden. We briefly regained direction. Again, everything went well. I'm glad we didn't have kids during our marriage. I know it seems bad, especially since she miscarried, but it would have made things harder. Having a child would have made me too connected and prohibited me from achieving what I needed to. Everything would have been different if I hadn't wanted to hurt my child's mother. I'll share a personal detail for this essay. I get mad easily. Darcy knew I've always been that way. No, my temper did not cause the problems. The real issue was her desire to make me weak. No longer was cooperation or compromise important. Things fell apart because she needed to express her independence in a way that seemed to show something. No big deal at first. Every time we fought, Darcy packed her bags and went to her family. I believed I made a tremendous mistake the first time this behavior happened, because it was new. I thought maybe I pushed her too far because she had never done that before. I apologized over the phone and begged her to come home. She did too. However, her family didn't send her back, call to mediate, or even ask what happened, which should have bothered me. They appeared fine with her leaving, but that made sense since they didn't like me. Unexpectedly, it happened again. Worse this time. Her siblings called me to chastise me for mistreating their sister. They blamed me for her miscarriage. That hurt terribly. They implied her sister was tied to me, a useless man. I wasn't thinking a divorce, because I was still in love. As usual, I thought we'd sort it out. I first locked her out of the house after she pushed me hard during a fight. I couldn't take it. Naturally, she escaped to her family again, but they went further. To suggest I mistreated her, they took her to the police. Everything went haywire. After my parents intervened, we started marriage therapy. Ironically, it worked. Packing and leaving stopped, and her relatives stopped interfering. We felt that our relationship was returning to its pre-dating condition after 5 years of marriage. However, I should have been more cautious. I should have been wary of someone who could spread the lie that I was an abuser to her family and police, even if they denied it. Love impairs judgment, as I've proved. I enjoy working remotely occasionally. Select a position beforehand. Get some food and see some sights. Anything unusual. She was on one of these trips. I thought I was wrong. I assumed it was someone who looked or dressed like her. As my mind struggled to make sense of it, something seemed off. I followed her. I knew she rented a job office, but it was far from me. I didn't know she was seeing someone or had any plans. When I followed her to a restaurant, I saw a new man. Even though she seemed content with him, I had to watch her. I entered the restaurant wearing a baseball cap to blend in, ordered a drink, and sat back to watch. I stayed to see her leave. The man stayed. At this moment, I tried to get his details. I told him, he got a beautiful woman and he said, Yeah, she's my girlfriend. I lost my train of thought. He whispered something again, but I was too shocked to hear it. I left by myself. The rest was a blur, including getting to my car and driving home. After getting home, I showered, drank too much wine, and fell asleep until Darcy woke me up for dinner. She didn't mention meeting anyone when I asked about her day. The following days were tough. I continued thinking about what I saw. I needed to know more about this man. I checked her phone. She'd been guarding it lately. However, I can access her phone. I saw she called Diego often. So I took the number, dug up her name on social media, emailed the handles to my phone, and included screenshots of their talks. I saw him posting images of himself on vacation, in nice cars, and living an extravagant lifestyle on social media. However, something was wrong. I understood I needed help now. I gave an colleague his phone number and social media accounts, who liked cybersecurity. I told him to research this man. His discovery was fascinating. Diego was a liar. He was known for scamming women, living off their money, and posing as a wealthy businessman. That impression helped him con more ladies. One of his older Facebook photos was shared in a Twitter thread calling him out and warning other women to beware. Whether Diego was his real name remained unknown. She was unfaithful to me and a con artist. I could most effectively destroy her life by making her own lies. Before I could work surreptitiously, I had to distract her. I feigned to be distracted to silently back her Diego obsession. I complied when she complained about me. Initially, I pretended to be leaving. This heightened her carelessness. Ready to settle down with Diego, who, according to my screenshots, was feeding her endless dreams of their ideal life together. It wasn't just her family participated. Diego symbolized money and their plans for their daughter. This time, my pal went deeper into Diego's social network. Diego was clearly involved in questionable actions. Diego found more accusations from women nationwide on old accounts linked to his email address. These women discussed Diego's dishonesty in funding bogus companies. Their civil litigation pattern was unmistakable. I needed this opening. I didn't have to kill Darcy, just drive him deeper into his dilemma and wait for everything to fall apart. This required planning and patience. I started acting foolish. I pretended to be unaware of Darcy's actions and blamed work stress. Finished arguing with her. I barely participated. Because of this, she felt justified in spending more time, and most importantly, money on Diego's offer, which pushed her into his arms. He became her ideal life, and I was the man she wanted to escape. I kept Darcy oblivious of Diego's existence. She joined Diego in investing. I spied almost daily. Darcy got loans under her name. She thought she was smart and Diego's business would flourish. Darcy noticed Diego's stories were inconsistent after several months. She wondered why he wasn't encouraging her to marry, relocate, or making money on her investments. Diego disappeared fast. He evaded her for weeks and was never found, perhaps working on his next victim. The best part? She realized what had happened when her money were virtually drained. She could not return her loans to give in. Thank goodness none of my funds were in the shared account. I don't know when she realized her money was gone and Diego would never return. I remember the day she said we needed to talk. She started crying and begged for my help while I listened. Told me everything about Diego except the infidelity. You have tech-savvy friends who can hack or find info? Stop chatting. Her story touched someone unaware of the cheating. But me? I refused. I dropped the bomb then. I monitored everything. I have printouts of her financial actions, screenshots of her texts to Diego, and a timeline of when she started withdrawing money from our accounts. As a crown, I gave her the divorce papers. The woman went crazy. She shouted and threw herself around. I had to shake her shoulders to get her to quit messing. That time would have drawn the neighbors' attention. One of them phoning the police to say I abused her was the last thing I needed. She knelt and begged. She acted impulsively, as if her mind was crumbling. I was so scared I asked her friend to come over immediately. She prepared some things and learned what happened when her friend came. Finally bringing Darcy. Even though it was scary, I didn't forgive her. Darcy called me days later. I told her to go through my lawyer before blocking her when I couldn't take the disruptions. I informed her that I would contact the police if she tried to enter the house again. She probably went home after that, but I stopped her relatives' calls too. We went to court because she and her family refused peaceful negotiations. It was difficult because the separation didn't seem to benefit me at the time. As the divorce procedure ended, karma helped me. Thank goodness we didn't have kids, so custody wasn't an issue. But finances got tricky. Most states, including mine, allocate marital assets fairly in divorce. That doesn't always mean 50/50, it means reasonable in the situation. I knew Darcy started by transferring monies from our joint account, and then transferred her personal funds into Diego's phony business ventures to avoid suspicion. I provided all of her expenditures during our marriage to show how she had mismanaged even her own money. placing her in debt. My pain shouldn't be necessary. We addressed everything with my superb and expensive lawyer. The money she gave Diego, her own obligations, and her general financial irresponsibility. Her financial problems did not move the judge. They decided she was solely responsible for her bills. She claimed Diego tricked her, but the court ignored her. This was a divorce, not a crime. In a divorce court, only asset and debt division mattered. My skilled lawyer acquitted me. No debt division, no spousal support. However, Darcy had to clean up her mistake. The judge ordered her to repay her personal debts, emptying her funds and leaving her with a pile of debt and a bad credit score. Not me or Diego. Highlight of it all? I got my revenge without doing anything wrong. The book handled everything. I made sure she couldn't crawl out of the hole once she dug it. She could not legally amend her wrong decisions. Furthermore, she could not change it. She made too many attempts to contact me after the divorce, likely thinking she could use fresh numbers and tactics to win me back. She called me from another account or number after I blocked her. I'll ask for a restraining order for her harassment, and am convinced I'll get one. If she contacts me or shows up without warning, she's breaking the order and will face fresh legal issues. Anyway, that's how I handled it. Systematic, planned, and legal. It was neither theatrical nor violent. I let Darcy's actions destroy her, so I can go on. She's chasing a dead guy and in debt, and me? Simply put, I'm fine. I'm ready to go on. Therefore, Hollywood-style revenge may not work if you find yourself in my situation. Be smart, keep good documents, and let the law handle it. Your measured approach to the issue shows maturity that not everyone has. I envy your restraint. You must also seek for a restraining order to maintain your peace and avoid constant reminders of the past. I hope that provides you perspective and space to focus on your future. As you start this new chapter, prioritize your health. Reconnect with your joys. You deserve to find happiness and live a life without the past, whether that means trying new hobbies, spending time with friends, or thinking